There are like 3 people waiting. Let's see.
That's fine. That's a nice cozy group.
Yeah. Yeah, okay.
I wonder if some people might still see the 5:30 time, and so you might find that maybe a couple might join later.
That could be an issue, but usually in the calendar it goes as 5 p.m. Yeah, should be fine. Should be okay. I'm just going to invite everyone. Just they are joining in. Hey everyone. I'm just waiting for a few more people to join in, and I am sending an invite in the WhatsApp group as well. Give me just 1 minute.
Good evening. Hi, Karen. Hi, Franco.
Hello there, Andrea.
Hey.
Hello, Amanda.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hey, Amanda.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Hello, Tasif.
Just giving just 2 more minutes and we can go in. Yeah. And how while you're here, how many of you have already been in business in Amazon, except Corinne, of course? Hi. And how long have you been, Andrea?
I set up my own private label last year, beginning of last year, and I've been selling for 7-8 months, and now I'm scaling up and in the process of launching the second product.
Brilliant. That's nice to know. We might as well start now. Let's wait for others to join in as well. I'll quickly make it such that people don't need to wait for me. Yeah, I think that's fine. Just to give you a brief introduction, myself, I'm Prem Kumar. I'm founder of Amazing Sellers, and we have been running meets since 2017. That's when I started my Amazon business, and I wanted to sneak peek into others' business, and that's how this community started. It was a tricky way to find out. I could have gone to others' meets, but it wasn't the same equation as me running the community and people come and give me the information in that sense, you know. So it worked really well for me. It's me and my wife, Sharanya, who started this business, and she's doing it full time now. I'm just helping her with strategies and finding tools and building some tools as well. Since 2017, we have been doing small meets here and there in the coffee shops. And last year, we started doing really big ones in London, in Paddington. Unfortunately, the lockdown kicked in. We had good 10 to 12 roughly meets with 30 to 40 people joining in. It was wonderful, so nice days. It was in a pub actually. So it was so nice. This year, full of webinars. We are trying to keep up with the pace of the number of webinars. There are plenty of webinars available these days because it has become international. People are the webinars are available to meet around the clock whenever you want to. So there are plenty of them available. and we are trying our best to get the best content to you. And our motive always had been to bring business people in front of you, put them on the hot seat and ask them the questions so you can go back inspired. And that's the whole motive of our meets. It's not about just tools and technologies, but also about but mostly about the business person and how they have gone through the business. That's what it is. And without further ado, there you go. Karen is one such person which I look up to. She joined the group probably 3 months ago, roughly, and she really, right away impressed with the story. The story of starting from a small product that she built while in a B&B. She was running a B&B. She had a small product, and people loved it. The visitors to the B&B, the guests, they loved the product, and she went on to find, how can I sell this elsewhere? When she started selling elsewhere, obviously she found another business, and 10 years now into the business, and she, I think it's 2018, Karen, if I'm right, she went on to go to number 10 Downing Street, speaking about the problems of small businesses to the ministers out there. So it was such a wonderful story to hear, and she is quite active in the Amazon circle, especially on the Scotland area. She's working closely with the Scottish government, helping the shop owners to go online. So that's the kind of legacy that she's carrying. She's helping people, she's coaching people, and whenever I speak with her, she says, "I don't take much money on this." She's so graceful in saying that. Yeah, sure. Such a wonderful lady. Thanks for joining in, Karen, and thanks for everyone to joining in. Let me pin your video quickly here, and we can go ahead. It's lovely, Karen. Thank you for joining in again.
You're very welcome.
Let's start with the really exciting bits. And how many lines of products have you got at this moment? And if you can disclose, what's your current yearly revenue? It's just to inspire people.
Yeah, so we've currently got about 30 to 40 product lines, and it's eco-friendly soft furnishings that we do. So it's stuff that's made out of recycled materials and sustainable materials, stuff like that. We get most of it from sort of fair trade sources or sort of Good Weave accredited. So the ethical part of the business is really, really important to us. So yeah, 30 to 40 product lines just now, but they all have quite a lot of variations in sizes and colours, etc. So I've probably got about 500 SKUs. Wow. But on top of that, we have got a historical legacy of all the products that we used to buy in from other people before we started to import our own stuff. So we've probably got about 1,400 SKUs sitting, but most of them are trying to get rid of them now so they can start afresh again. It's far too complicated. 500 SKUs even feels like far too much for me to deal with. And if you've not got the systems to support that number of SKUs, then you very quickly have an unmanageable business. And I am kind of there right now. But for revenue, I would say we've got about, our turnover is maybe about 500K a year. And I would say the lion's share of that is on Amazon, but we also sell on eBay and Etsy and our own website as well. And we have just recently started to open a physical retail space as well. We just want to buck that trend a little bit where everybody's going online, but at the same time, we all hate what's happening to our town centre. So we're trying to keep a physical presence going as well.
That's really nice of you to do that. It's very wonderful. It's very wonderful to know that you are doing like 500 SKUs. Just to take a comparison, in my business, I have only 20 SKUs and I struggle a lot. Not me, my wife fully, but she struggles quite a lot to manage between these 20 SKUs. And you are doing a remarkable job in managing with 500 SKUs. But yeah, there are people with 3,000 SKUs and God knows how they deal with it. It's really...
Yeah, but it's an interesting point, Prem, for anybody who's starting in business. It can be very easy to start an e-commerce business, and it can be very easy to let it run away from you before you've actually built up the skills and the systems that you need to keep on top of it. And I haven't done that. And so I am struggling now because I don't have the systems. So we have to very rapidly bring everything back in line again. And I used to think that 500 SKUs is okay because there's lots of other people who've got thousands of SKUs. But actually, I should have been comparing myself to the people that have got 10 SKUs or 20 SKUs, because that is more the kind of sort of management level that would have suited me more. So I don't really want to have lots of SKUs. I would rather have something like yourself where you've got a smaller number and you can stay on top of it, I think, a little bit easier.
Yeah, that's very good to say. I should note that people with a lower number of SKUs are susceptible for the seasonal changes, and they are susceptible for a short-term business rather than a long-term business. It's very evident from your business that you are doing it for 10 years now, and you have a really good brand behind you, which is quite nice. I think the number of SKUs is making you sustain longer than many others.
Yeah, I think what we started with too many, and so now we're trying to bring it back and just make it to be a manageable number. It's all branded products as well, instead of being a reseller for other things, which is where lots of sellers start out before they get an idea of what they want to do themselves as well.
Yeah, pretty good, nice. Yeah, so you are comfortably settled in a B&B business to an extent, definitely. And at one point, you decided to venture into an e-commerce business. So I'm asking this question here before getting into the how of your business. Can you tell us why you ventured into an e-commerce business?
Yeah, well, at the time I started the e-commerce business, I still stay in a pretty rural part of Scotland, but I stayed on an island off the west coast of Scotland. So it was 2 hours by ferry. And we had a B&B there, but I also worked full time for the local Environment Protection Agency. So a lot of people living on islands end up doing 3 or 4 different jobs. So my job with local government was one, and then we also ran a bed and breakfast as well. But when we set up the bed and breakfast, I really wanted it to be like a fair trade one. I wanted all the furnishings to be fair trade. So I went and sourced all of that for the bed and breakfast side of things. But it was people often commented on the furnishings and how much they liked them. And so I thought, well, maybe I should have the facility for people to buy them if they want to. And that was back in 2007. And all I did was start to put a couple of things on eBay just to see how that went. So people liked them at the bed and breakfast, but that's when I started to try and sell a few of them on eBay. And that sort of single sale of a first rug that was like £10 or something is kind of what launched the whole business. It was almost an accident. It was never meant to turn into something like this, but that is where it ended up.
Nice. And how does it feel after you moved over from your previous job, which is running a B&B, to being the business person in an e-commerce business? How, if you remember, what was your first few years like?
Well, it was more, the difference for me was more giving up my full-time job was with the Environment Protection Agency. So that was my full-time job. Giving up the bed and breakfast, I moved back to my hometown of Dumfries. So that was in 2010. So the bed and breakfast stopped in 2010, but I still had my full-time job with Central, with the Environment Protection Agency. But I gave that up in 2013. So that was the point that I left my pretty well-paid day job and just went to do my own business full time. So that was very frightening, obviously. But by then I'd been doing the e-commerce thing for 5 years. And it had been a very slow and steady growth. So by the time I was ready to leave, I didn't really feel like I was taking a huge risk, because I'd given it long enough to actually be comfortable that I thought this would be able to work for me. But even when you think it's going to be okay, leaving a well-paid job with an employer and switching does make you feel very nervous. But it's such a different state of being, working for somebody else as opposed to working for yourself. Just open, you find so many new skills that you never realized that you had. And especially when you work in a paid job and run your own business at the same time, you realize that you become 2 different people, because the things you have to do in your day job compared to running your own business are totally different. So I felt like I had a split personality when I was working the day job and running my own business, because it was so different.
Oh, nice. So split personality. I think that's the best word to describe most of us. Yes, yeah. My wife, uh, just to give comparisons here, my
Mhm.
wife left her job 2 months in. We
Uh-huh.
started the business. It doesn't mean our business was so going well. It was
Mm.
actually like my wife wanted to see the numbers. She saw the numbers, and she ditched her manager, came here. That's what
There
she
you
did.
go.
But lots of people do not have the luxury of doing that now. They will be relying on the household income for the salary, and it's advisable, like you say, to leave the full paying job after some time into the business. Many people
Yeah.
think this is a freedom ticket, but I don't think it's a freedom ticket.
No, I know that I would never have started my own business if I did not have the security
Mm.
of a paid job that was running behind the scene. It's not just the security, but it actually funds the
Yeah.
early days of your business. It's actually what that forms the capital that you put
Mhm.
into it. And it means you can be a bit more relaxed about where you take it. The pressure's not on you to make this succeed within the first 6 months because you've got your other income there. So yeah, I don't think I would have been brave enough just to start a business and to hope that it would all turn out. I needed that background security there.
Yeah. That's very well said. I think the security is very, very important. Yes.
Definitely.
Yeah, yeah. When you started, did you start with one product or multiple products? Um, what are the challenges? I know you have been doing it previously as well, but what were the challenges when you started seeing the scale of e-commerce?
Yeah, I just started with a couple of products, and it really was just a couple of, because I bought these fair trade furnishings in bulk to furnish the rooms, I was left with like 2 or 3 rugs and a couple of cushion covers and something like that. So it was just starting to sell them. So there was not many products at all. And obviously I got the bug. So as soon as the first few of them sold on eBay, I just thought, oh, this is interesting. And I'll just buy a few more in and I'll put them on there. And so I just started to build it up from there. Obviously at that time you're only buying things in from other wholesalers. So you're not really getting the chance to develop your own ideas or anything like that. But it was a nice way to start because you could test the water with 2 products. If they didn't sell, you would just give them up. You might buy something else in and they sold very quickly, so you get more of those. So you weren't having to put very much money in at any one point. Unlike now where you're having to buy container loads of products and you have to hope that they are going to be, popular with your customers. But it's a very different ball game now to messing about with 2 or 3 products here and there and testing it and then having to go for the container shipments. But these are all things that I never thought I would do. When I first started, if somebody said, in 6 years' time, you will be importing your own products, I would have said, there is no way I will be doing that. But this is what happens with business. You keep stepping to the next level without ever
Yeah.
really meaning to.
Yeah. And it excited us when we did one full load container just in August this year. It really excited us, and we were
Yeah.
so chuffed about the scale. Yeah, you're
Uh-huh.
right.
Yeah, the first container, you never forget your first container,
Absolutely,
definitely.
yeah.
Not always for good reasons either. It can be quite stressful actually. Until
Yeah.
you know that what's in there is okay, it can be a bit nerve-wracking.
Yes, it is. It is definitely. Yeah, and we are looking to do 3 containers in May next year. That's how
Hmm.
exciting it is. Yeah, brilliant,
Good
nice.
stuff.
And you must have done some big capital investment in the first year. Was there any big investment, or whatever investment that you did in the first 1 to 3 years, and how much was that? Was it very affecting your life by then?
No, again, because I was working full time, I had a pretty good salary. So, and it was so small scale when I first started. It really was like a hobby business. So I didn't have to worry about the money side of things. I just used part of my salary to buy in products.
Mhm.
I didn't really start putting major investments and buying big bulk loads probably until 2012, 2013. So the first 3 or 4 years, while I was still working full time, I didn't put any massive capital. I basically didn't need to rent anywhere. I was working in the spare rooms in my house.
Mm.
And eventually you need a garage, and then you need to start renting some commercial space. But again, I was able to use the rooms in the house for quite a long time before that became impossible. But I think because the things that I buy in our textiles are quite heavy and bulky, if I'd been dealing with small items, I might never have needed to rent commercial storage. So again, it's another good thing to think about, is what are you selling and how big is it and how much space does it take up, and what overheads will you eventually have. And yeah, textiles are not the easiest thing to store sometime. But again, in the first few years, I didn't feel like I had to take any risks because I just used whatever salary I had to keep building up. And obviously after a while, you're turning some profit that you're able to put back into the business. But I didn't ever really invest any more than what I was bringing in from the actual sale of the items. And that went on for a good 2 or 3 years before I was thinking about scaling it up.
That's nice. That's nice. And I asked that question mainly because a lot of beginners just jump in thinking it's not going to cost them a lot. Somebody in the internet might have told them that it will cost them, an investment of roughly 500 to 1,000 pounds to start up. But in many cases, it's not very practical. They need to drip feed investment into the business.
Yeah,
isn't it?
I mean, I would say literally my business started with 2 £10 rugs selling on eBay. It gave me the bug to want to try more. I bought another couple in, but yeah, I think it's okay if people don't think that they have to have £2,000 to start up, they're more likely to give it a go. And the beauty of e-commerce, whether it's Amazon or eBay or Etsy, is that you can literally put 2 items on, and if it's a good item and you give it a little boost, then you might well sell it. You don't have to buy in a lot of stock to start with. There's so many ways you can test the market on e-commerce to give yourself a little bit of confidence that what you're planning on doing is actually going to work for you.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. Not going to ask the question because you are done. Did you have any moments in the first few years that this is not working and you thought of giving up?
I've never felt, again, the first few years were very relaxed because I was doing it as a side hustle, really. I've never really felt like the business isn't working, but there's been times when your own lifestyle or the things that are going on in your own life mean that it becomes very difficult to actually keep running your business. So things like my dad developed dementia very suddenly, so I had to down tools to look after him. And that nearly finished the business off. And it wasn't because the business wasn't successful, but I was the only one doing it. So it could not survive, me not being there. And obviously my dad was my priority, and I would have closed the business for a few years. But that was the point that I started to use FBA. And by outsourcing all of the sort of storage and stuff, that actually got me over that time and allowed me to spend time with my dad. So yeah, I could easily have given it up at that point, but it wouldn't have been because the business wasn't working. It would be because I didn't have anybody to hand it over to run it for me while I was looking after my dad. I would say that the closest time that I have got to thinking this isn't working is actually right now, when there's been so much uncertainty. Like I say, we've hit a bit of a wall in terms of having too many old historical SKUs that we need to get rid of. Our systems are not good enough to support the multiple channels and the multiple products. So I know that I have to either reduce the number of channels that I'm selling on or reduce the number of products. But if you're a big business and you've got great software systems, then yes, you can have thousands of SKUs and you can link them all through a multi-channel software system and sell in multiple channels. But if you're trying to do that and you don't have the systems for it, it just becomes unbearable. So we have got to that point now. And I just find overheads in general are starting to go up a lot. The uncertainties about Brexit, the whole sort of delays in stock importing because of COVID, I think I'm not different to anybody else, and just thinking, wow, this is a tough time. But for me, it's not just been about Brexit and about COVID. It's been about the systems that I've got just starting to let me down a little bit because they're not good enough. So I know what I'm going to do about it. But when you ask, has there ever been a point that I've felt it's not working, then yeah, it's now. It's right now.
Hopefully it resolves for you, and I'm sure it will resolve, and I'm sure you will overcome this problem and you go forward. I know how business people think and move forward with the problems. I definitely know. It needs a really strong mind to be in business for 10 years, and that is evident in you, definitely. Yeah, good one. So you said eBay, and then you moved on to Amazon. So which platform gave you the most necessary confidence between these two to scale up your business and go to the next level?
Well, it's funny, it's kind of both of them. So eBay was where we started, and I only sold on eBay for the first sort of 3 years, I would say. And so eBay was a primary channel, and as a side hustle, as a hobby, eBay did absolutely fine. And we then started to sell small scale on Amazon, and we opened a website as well. But for a long time, right up to, I would say, 2014, eBay was our big channel. So we were doing about 200,000 on eBay alone. So I always say that eBay is responsible for the startup and the growth of my business to the point where I was able to say, I'm going to give up my day job now and do this full time. But when I started to really work on Amazon, Amazon very quickly sunk eBay for me. So Amazon very quickly became my main sales channel. And I would say that I would give Amazon the credit for growing the business in the latter years, primarily because I started to use FBA and I started to sell in Europe as well. So eBay has not got that same opportunity for outsourcing. If I'd only been selling on eBay and I'd been trying to care for my dad, I probably couldn't have kept going unless I'd found very quickly a third-party fulfillment center, which at the time I didn't have immediate access to. So yeah, I would split them in two and say that eBay is responsible for the startup and early growth of the business, and then Amazon is very much responsible for all of the growth that I've had since then.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. Thank you so much for that. So you're now in multiple channels. I know eBay, Amazon, and you must be in Etsy.
Yeah.
And what else? What other channels are you in now?
It's really just our own website that we've got, but I find, and I don't know about you guys as well, but I find that we're regularly getting emails from lots of new channels that are opening up. So we get emails from channels that specialize in ethical products. So there's Ethical Bazaar and there's VO, and it's a bit of a shame because it's great that we now have so much choice on the marketplaces which are available to us. But again, if you spread yourself too thinly across multiple channels without having a way of linking all your stock, then it's actually not a great idea to just sell on a channel just because it's there for you. So yeah, we are sticking to Amazon, eBay, Etsy, and our website just now, plus whatever we manage to get going with our physical shop. And I accept there's lots of other channels that we could be doing well on, but I'm not prepared to start complicating things anymore by pursuing them. And we do use a multi-channel software system, which does help a little bit, but you still need somebody to be really working hard to make sure that that system is tightly holding everything together. And we don't have a lot of staff, and we don't have a lot of staff with the kind of skills that we need for that. Everything's quite chaotic and inefficient in our business. We don't always confess that is the case, but behind the scenes, it can be a bit wild because, again, I think Dumfries is a small town. It's in a rural part of Scotland. We don't have access to lots of very skilled data processors and e-commerce experts. It's just not there. So I have to outsource anything that I can't do myself. And that can be quite a struggle sometimes, trying to find, well, who's the best company to bring in to help me with this thing here. So yeah, multiple channels is great to an extent, and then it stops making sense after a while.
Just to give another comparison for people who are listening, we limited ourselves to Amazon, and when we started to expand into other channels, we expanded into just 2 channels. Like you say, it becomes an overhead over time.
Yeah.
And we were really conscious from the community. A lot of people said it's such an overhead, especially from the accounting firms. When I was speaking with the accountancy firms, they were saying it's completely a mishap, completely a chaotic thing to get all the channels for your business.
Yeah.
Just pick some
Yeah.
of those and use it. That's what they told. So we expanded into eBay and we expanded into Etsy. And
Mhm.
Etsy, very surprisingly, our revenue increased by 25% by just going into Etsy. So
Yeah.
it made
Etsy's a really nice channel, yeah, and I think customers on Etsy are very friendly and pleasant, and it's just got a whole different feel to it. I really like Etsy, and right now Etsy is as good as eBay is for us. And yeah, I do like it, definitely.
nice. Yeah, absolutely. All right, we got enough there, and then some more questions here. There is a question from Sylvie email here. Yeah, we'll get to it at the end of that. Sylvie, please hold with us. Please hold with us. Um, you evangelize the high street shops, right? You want to make them revive the business, the town center. You want to revive them. That's very passionate. And you have a shop yourself. How is it helping your business?
It's not helping very much right now because we were starting to open it in February, and of course then COVID came along, and we've not been able to actually open the physical shop at all. But we're in the process of trying to just open it for the last run up to Christmas. So basically we bought an old church in the town centre. So like lots of people, I walk into my town centre and I just feel terribly sad about what it looks like. And I just think that lots of internet retailers could probably base themselves in a town centre building, a bit like Argos, where you've got your front shop with your things in it, but you've got room at the back where you're sending out your orders. You're not depending on passing trade because you've got your internet business, but you're occupying a building in your town centre. You're putting a little bit of energy back into it. So I feel really strongly about wanting to contribute that when I know I've got the resilience to do it. So we will see what happens. I mean, I could open a shop and it wouldn't matter if nobody ever came into it because I've got the building anyway. I'm using it to store stuff in as well. We've got our offices in there. But I would like to think that I'm sort of promoting a little bit of sort of economic activity instead of decamping to an industrial unit somewhere. Where nobody's ever going to come past. So yeah, we'll see what the next month brings. But we've already had such a lot of support from our sort of local community to say this is great that you're opening this retail outlet when so many other people are closing theirs. So yeah, I do feel really strongly about it. I kind of hope in the long term that more internet retailers start to think about, well, could I be based in a town centre building that I could just bring a little bit more energy back into their town centre. And when we talked about that, this great visit to 10 Downing Street, that was one of we only had 2 minutes to speak. So, and you weren't there to ask questions, you were there to make a point or just to say something. So that was one of the 2 things that I said was, what can be done to encourage internet retailers to take up space in their town centres and try and help to decline this terrible or to reverse this terrible decline in what our centres look like.
That's good. That's good. It's very nice of you to evangelize this particular cause. It's very important. I definitely feel that. And I have to say that one of the previous speakers here, she was so lovely as well. Lavinia.
Lavinia. Yeah, with the chocolate.
The chocolate. Yeah.
I've met Lavinia. She is lovely. Yeah.
Yeah, and she made a really good point that after opening her shop, she was able to get the review from the customer straight on her face, right in the spot.
Yeah.
And it helped her to connect with the customer and grow her product catalog and grow with as much as passion from the customers themselves. I think having a physical shop just closes the loop, the feedback loop, pretty quickly.
Yeah. because selling online, it's so easy to hide behind your shop front, and you never meet any customers, and you're not getting that feedback, and people are not getting the chance to actually see your things and touch them. But just a short funny story is that we're due to open tomorrow to let the public come. We've had a couple of open days to let people come in, but we're properly opening tomorrow. But a customer turned up today asking if they could come in, and we said, oh, it's supposed to be tomorrow, but we're sorted, it's fine, why don't you come in and have a look? But within 20 minutes of them being there, I was really stressed out because they were wanting to ask me about things, but I was like, I have not got time to talk to you. I need to go and get on with some stuff. So it was a terrible moment that the first customer that came in the door, I thought, I have to go and get on with my spreadsheets. You know, I can give you 5 minutes of my time face to face, and then I've got to go. So I'm sure it'll be much friendlier tomorrow when other people come in. But we were laughing, my colleague and I were saying, that's terrible, our first customer, and we're like, we don't have time to talk to you. We've got a lot of online stuff to be getting on with.
Go check online. Yeah, don't go.
yeah. We've got orders to do. We can't talk to you here.
Nice. Yeah. In setting up the typical shop, you know, like what you have done, the most difficult bit is the capital investment, right? Paying for the taxes, paying for the deposits, etc. How did you overcome this challenge? How did you calculate, okay, fine, this is fine for me to go ahead and open a shop?
Yeah, I mean, we've bought the building, so it was a big risk. It is the biggest risk that I have taken in business. And there's days when I'm very glad that I've done it, and there's days when I feel terrified that I now own this massive church in Dumfries town centre. But we made the decision. It was either, you know, try and find an industrial unit to buy, or because we wanted to be in the town centre, do this. So I had to go to the bank, had to get a commercial mortgage for it. I used some personal savings to put down as a deposit. And it was really just my very strong e-commerce business plan, which convinced the bank that, yes, this is a very viable option for you. They could see why it made sense for me to stop renting commercial premises and to actually buy a premise instead. So yeah, that was fine. They went ahead with that. But yeah, 75% of it is on a commercial mortgage. So I have to make sure that I can pay for that. I'm not sure how sellable this building will be in the future. I have taken a leap of faith in buying this church, and I just have to hope that it will be the right thing. But I do believe that if you put your energy and your time into something, then you hopefully it comes back to you. Plus, the kind of local community were very pleased to see this nice old church has not fallen into disrepair. It's not become yet another unoccupied building. So they are very supportive of it. And, you know, over time, we might use it for more than just a show area. We might try and share the building, maybe get another retailer to come in and share the space with us, or something like that. There's lots of options there that we're going to look at next year. But we originally purchased it more for storage, but the first day that we moved into this church, I realised that this church is far too small for us. And it was quite a horrible moment where a 40-foot container was unloaded into this church and it blocked the road. And there was, you know, it was just caused a terrible traffic jam in the town. And when we tried to unload it, I thought this church is way too small for us. And I had to think, you are never going to store all your stuff here. So within a year, we had to rent more commercial storage, which felt like this is not what's supposed to be happening here. This church was supposed to be your commercial storage, not just part of it. But when these things happen, you just think, well, what are you going to use this church for instead? And so many people had said, I wish you had a shop that I could come and see all these beautiful handmade textiles. So we just thought, well, let's put together our passion for the town centre revival and the fact that the church is too small for our storage and start to open something. But I'm not too sure where this will all end up. But you know, there's got to be some parts of your business that are a little bit out there.
Yeah. If you don't take risks, it's not a business. So what you're doing is right, and it's very hard to see businesses with empathy and the cost behind them.
Yeah.
and a passion behind them, and what you're doing is exactly that. So I hope everything resolves to you and goes smoothly next year for you.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So you have like we discussed, I think you have hundreds of product lines. With just 20 product lines, I'm struggling. Do you use any software? You said you are using a software, and is it helping you, or is there any other tools that you are currently looking at?
No, but we use a multi-channel software system. So our one's called Cloud Commerce. It's just the same as Linworks. It's just another version of Link in your stock. It helps to manage our stock levels, but what it hasn't helped me with is the fact that these systems are only as good as the information that you put into them in the first place. And we ended up overwhelming the system with all the details of all of these SKUs that we had historically. They're not our brand. They're things that we bought from wholesalers before we really got going with our own brand. It's only last year that we got our own trademark. So up until that point, we were doing a mix of private label and reselling some of our sort of, we've got some great companies that we work with that do a lot of kind of ethical stuff, but we don't manage our products very well at all, even with a multi-channel system, but that's not the fault of the system. That's because we have no proper system, or we have had no proper system for having a nice central database where all of your information is on there. And again, we had too many SKUs too fast, and it overtook our ability to actually have a nice system. So that is another reason why we are selling off all of the random dregs and the one-offs that we've got, and we're paring back to these 30 to 40 product lines that are our own brand, and they've got lots of sizes and color variations, which builds up to sort of 500 SKUs. But when I do quite a lot of talks and training for small businesses, but that is one of my key things to say, is just make sure that your systems are capable of growing with you. If you don't, then you will get yourself into a terrible state. And that can actually suck the life out of you. You can end up losing interest and motivation because you just can't deal with the sort of admin and the sort of chaos you've created. Yeah. So I speak from personal pain when I say that. So I think when we go back down to 30 to 40 product lines, then our lives will become much easier. And if we do build up our product range after that, which I'm sure we will, it will be done very carefully, and it will be using the sort of new systems that we've got in place as well.
Well said. Well said. Thank you. Thanks for sharing that insight based on first-hand experience dealing with it.
And pain, yeah.
yeah, absolutely. So again, about the product lines, you have so many of the product lines, and definitely you want to make your business better with more product lines, except for the chaos that it creates. How do you innovate your product lines, and what is the process behind it?
Well, we've over time we've sort of learned what we like. We've learned what our customers like. So we've sort of developed and designed our own products now, and we have them made for us overseas. So it's kind of based on just a bit of experience on what people like. We don't always go for the sort of, we don't look at trade magazines and think, well, this is the color that's in this year. We kind of just go with what we've known in the past that people like. But over time, I have learned a lot about selling fabrics, anything involved with fabrics. There's key things which I have learned which now dictate what I choose now. So things like they have to be color fast. And a lot of our stuff's made from recycled fabric. So I don't always know whether the material is color fast or not. But I soon find out about it when I get a complaint from a customer to say, this rug has leaked color onto my Persian white carpet underneath or something. So it's, for me, the product development is not just about the product itself, but it's about how it behaves. So things like color fast, does it fold easily to go into the post? So I love jute, raw jute. I think I love the way that they weave it, but it's not easy to fold and it ends up with a crease in it. So things like that are really important when I come to innovate my products. I am looking for things that are easy to post. And also just things that are easy to store. So I get a lot of stuff comes into me that's rolled up. And and they're a nightmare to stack. You know, you can only stack them to the, you know, to sort of chest height. And so when you're renting commercial storage and all of your products are sitting at chest height, you're paying a massive amount of rental and you're not really using much of the space. So the product innovation is as much about the practical side of storing and packing it, as it is about whether I actually like the product itself. So I now say no to lots of products that I love the look of, but I know they will just be a pain in the neck to actually deal with. So that's where we are with it or not. And obviously we're now a Good Weave certified importer, so that means that I have to follow sort of strict guidelines on who I purchase from as well. It's really important to us that we operate within this sort of ethical network of producers. So again, that helps because there can be any number of people that you can buy stuff from, and it can be very difficult to choose. But by creating your own sort of boundaries about what you want to stick to, it actually helps you just to focus on the producers that you want to work with, as well as the products as well.
That's nice. That's the important takeaway from this webinar for me personally. So when you develop a new product, you just don't look at whether the customer likes it, whether your brand fits into it, and you also look into things like whether we can store it, and whether it can store for longer so that the product's quality does not diminish over time.
Yeah,
These are the 4 important takeaways here. Brilliant,
yeah.
nice, good share there. So if you have a chance to go back and correct something, what would you choose a completely different product line? Would you choose a different brand altogether?
Yeah, I would choose a completely different product line. I would not, knowing what I know now about the sort of problems I've had trying to deal with sort of bulky textile products, I would never in a million years choose to sell soft furnishings again. I think maybe it's fine for much bigger companies who've got big dry storage and they've got the big racking that they can put everything up onto, and they've just got bigger systems. But I find, you know, I mean, I love my products, and when I go over to Asia and look for stuff, I do get very excited because they're so beautiful, but I know how awkward they can be to work with. You know, they're very heavy, they're very awkward, they don't store well, they don't pack well, they get creased, they run their color. All these things that I sort of mentioned in the last question make them a really stressful product to deal with. And if I was starting again, I would pick something that's much smaller and easier to store and to process. I would be looking at Royal Mail small parcel size. I would be looking at Amazon standard size, 45 by 34 by 24 or whatever it is. I would be looking very carefully at weights and dimensions, and I would be restricting my choice of products to something that fitted in there. And I would look for something that's easy to stack. I would still want it to be interesting though, so it's all very well choosing a practical product, but if it bores you, you're just not that into your product, then it defeats the purpose. So I'd still have to find something similar, but no, I would not ever sell soft furnishings again.
Nice.
Much as I love them, but you know, I work with producers that I've worked with for a long time now, and you know, if I was really mercenary and clinical about it, I would just say, sorry, I'm done with the soft furnishings and I'm off to find guitar strings or something very small. But you know, I've worked with these guys for a long time. You know, I wouldn't choose this product line again, but it's what I do, it's what our brand is, so I have to stick with it and I have to work with it and just learn from how to make it easier within that context.
It's very refreshing to see that sticking to a brand and sticking to your passion. That's very important, to be honest. You know, there are ups and downs, but I think sticking to a particular passion and a particular brand is very nice.
Yeah, basically, when you run your own business, it incorporates all of your own values as well, and that's one of the benefits about running your own business, is that you don't have to do anything which doesn't feel right to you. So but sometimes that means that you want to stick with something for reasons that don't make financial sense anymore, but they're important to your heart, really, that this is what you're doing.
Absolutely, very nice. I think we spoke. There's one question that I noted about non-Amazon channels.
Uh-huh.
In Etsy, for example, let's take an example, which is the third biggest channel for lots of people these days. In Etsy, what were the challenges you faced in comparison to Amazon?
I think I don't find Etsy particularly challenging. I'm just aware that it's a smaller sales channel for us, but I actually feel like if I was to put more effort and work into Etsy, that I think I could see it doing it a lot more. I guess Amazon is a very sophisticated marketplace, and I think that the rest of them will always struggle to come up with anything similar. Etsy, things like not being able to upload products very easily, you know, with a kind of bulk file, stuff like that. You do a lot of things manually, but I still find the advantages of Etsy outweigh any of the challenges of it. I mean, it is geared up for smaller sellers who are working with their own sort of small, maybe handmade products, but over time, Etsy has developed into a marketplace that you can sell on if you can show any kind of connection to the product. You're not just reselling a lot of sort of random stuff. But I think Etsy's become easier to work in. I used to find it more challenging in the past. In fact, my first venture onto Etsy, I was kicked off Etsy because somebody just put a report in to say that these were not my products, and they were my products. And when I put the appeal in to say, no, these are my own products and I have them made for me, but they were like, no, you're not selling on Etsy anymore. And, you know, I wasn't prepared to go through the whole process of trying to appeal it. I just thought, well, the energy is not with Etsy right now, so I'll go somewhere else. And it was annoying because lots of people on Etsy were selling other people's products. In fact, there was people selling on Etsy who had bought products from me to sell on Etsy, and they were all happily selling away, whereas I got kicked off. And I still don't know why I was. I just didn't have time or inclination to go into it. But I think Etsy's really moved with the times a lot. So I think it feels like a smaller scale place to be, but because customers are nicer, I am prepared to work with the limitations to the system itself. So I'm pretty happy with Etsy. And just from what you're saying yourself, Prem, you found it to be a good channel to be on as well. So
yeah,
it's never really going to be.
Channel,
it's never going to be the beast, you know, this massive system that Amazon is, but it's got its place, and you don't want all channels to be like that anyway. You know, you've got to have your reasons for being where you are.
Yeah, it has a very specific customer sector there, which is mostly the homemakers. I'm not specifying the gender. It's generally the homemakers interested in hobbies, interested in arts, interested in any little things like baking or cooking, something like that. And our product, go on, please.
No, sorry, just go on. I was just going to say, I just find the customers to be nice, just far nicer to deal with.
Exactly, that's very important as well. They are so nice to deal with. If there is a problem, they raise it with you and they try to rectify that. And they understand this is a small business mostly who are on it. And they try to empathize with you. So which is quite nice, really good.
Yeah.
Nice, and there are many people in our group itself. You know, we are getting close to the end of this talk. So there are many people in our group that need desperate help to start with their business. You know, I know of a lot of people whom I have spoken to who have been trying to start up their e-commerce journey for 6 months, 1 year. I have had 2 years as well, trying to set up something, bogged down with the information on the internet. To be honest, I was like that. In 2012, I started. I tried to use the knowledge that I have found on internet. I didn't sell anything, so I got discouraged and I gave up almost for 5 years. 2017, I started, and it worked, and it began to work. At that time, I was determined to get it working. Within 2 months, it started working fine for me. I think it's just a little information that people get bogged down with in the internet, and they don't start pretty quickly. And I know you are coaching people as well, and you don't do it like a mentoring coaching setup. You do trainings, and if you want to mentor someone, what's the criteria to find those people? What kind of people would you be interested in mentoring?
Well, the training I do for now, so Scottish Government approached me a couple of years ago and asked if I'd be prepared to help them do a sort of some e-commerce training. So I wrote a half-day Amazon masterclass for them and a half-day eBay masterclass as well. And so I deliver that both in classroom, but it's all been webinar recently. But it tends to be more startup companies that I help, because all of these channels have an awful lot of detail in them, and it's very difficult sometimes to get really bogged down in some tiny nitty-gritty part of somebody's business. So yeah, it tends to be people who've started, but they've just started to hit a series of early obstacles which has actually stopped them from getting going. So that's the kind of company that I often end up helping. So I get referrals from Scottish Government as well about companies that are clearly sort of able to take their business forward, but they've just hit a few problems. And as we know, it's not always easy to get help directly from somebody at Amazon or eBay or Etsy or anything like that. And sometimes it just takes a fellow seller to say, oh yes, I remember having that problem, and this is what I did about it. So yeah, it tends to be this sort of startup, sort of early troubleshooting, just getting around the things that are stopping you from just actually getting moving, that I am better with. Although I do these half-day training courses, I still don't consider myself to be an expert on so much of Amazon and eBay, because every business has such a different experience on there, and there's some people very specialised on a lot of that stuff is quite superficial knowledge that I've got. So yeah, startups, early problems, just trying to get a problem solved that helps them just move on, rather than any sort of really detailed thing. Listing products as well, stuff like that is it's all the kind of getting going stuff that I tend to end up helping people with.
Nice. Thanks for sharing that again. One last question. What's your next big move?
Well, my next big move, I would like to actually hand this whole business over to somebody else so that I can go and do a creative writing course for the next 2 years. So, I will be having a look at that. But in terms of the business itself, it's definitely this paring things down and making things more manageable. I think if we don't get our system sorted out, if we don't rid ourselves of all of the clutter that has built up in this business over 10 years, we will struggle to make any progress at all. So getting rid of the dead wood, getting down to these key 30 to 40 product lines that we're going to start working really hard on. And once we've got that done, then we'll start to look at maybe introducing some more product lines. I will then look at some of the more international markets. I mean, we do a lot in Europe already. So like other sellers, a big move for me is to work out what is going to happen after the end of this year. Where will my European market be? Will it still be there? And what adjustments will I need to make to my business to respond to that? And then obviously we've got this church building that has to form part of our next big move. So I'm not sure what exactly, is going to end up happening there, but something will be happening there for sure. So for me, the next big move is actually to simplify and maybe rein things in a little bit and then start to build back out again after that.
Nice. It's a new beginning every day, definitely.
Exactly.
Yeah. Brilliant. That's business. It's the spirit. Thanks for sharing your story. Thanks for sharing your business.
You're welcome.
Details with us. And it was so lovely to hear from such a heartwarming, very honest opinions about running this business. So thank you so much for sharing all those.
You're very welcome. Very welcome.
Yeah. Thank you. I'll open this up for people who are here to ask any questions. I'm just looking at the time. That's 6 o'clock now. Let's take like 15-20 minutes for any questions that you may have. Please unmute yourself and ask the questions, or type it in the chat that one person has already did that, right? So how do you find wholesalers or suppliers? What's from Sylvia?
Sylvia, I used to find it quite easy to find wholesalers, and I think it's getting more difficult because lots of wholesalers are themselves realizing that they don't need the middleman to sell their goods. So lots of wholesalers are actually selling themselves on Amazon. So by the time this started to become a problem, I was already importing my own stuff. I still have some old long-standing wholesalers that I use. So I think it helps for you to know what kind of product you want to sell, because you can then be very specific about finding a wholesaler. I think if you're just trying to find wholesalers in general, it starts to get a little bit more complicated. But I would recommend people to go to some of the big trade fairs. And I know they haven't been running this year because of COVID, but like the spring fair and the autumn fair in Birmingham are just such a great breeding ground for ideas. And there's lots and lots of wholesalers there. And like I say, it's more about getting ideas as well as actually finding actual suppliers. But I don't tend to use like Alibaba or any of these places because I've already got my producers that I use overseas. But if I was starting again, I would probably go to a few trade fairs and start trying to make contacts there. But I would know that I would have to kind of know what products I was interested in to start with. Otherwise, it would just all feel a bit too vague and broad. So certainly look at trade fairs and some of the trade magazines, and just a good old-fashioned Google search on the product that you want to sell with the word wholesale, and just see what comes up. But there's probably better advice out there than I can give, just because I'm not really using or out there looking for new wholesalers anymore.
Nice. So yeah, trade fairs, that's a very good point. And it's not just any trade fair. They must be looking for their product. They must be looking for the product that they want to do and find the corresponding trade fairs. For example,
Yeah.
if you're looking for an agricultural product, go to agricultural trade fairs than anything else.
Exactly. And also just recognizing that quite a lot of wholesale, if you go to the trade fairs, more and more exhibitors there are saying we don't want you to sell our product on eBay and Amazon. So you have to be sure that you've checked with potential wholesalers. Is it okay that I sell this product on whichever channel you're looking to sell it? There's more and more are saying we don't want you to sell it on Amazon because we ourselves are selling it on Amazon, or we don't want our product's price being driven down. So it's worth just getting all that checked out as well, so that you don't get involved in a wholesale and then find that you can't actually sell it on the channels that you want to use.
Very true. Yeah, that's Sylvie there. And Andrew had a couple of questions. Andrew, you're unmuted. Would you like to ask the question?
Oh, yeah. Thank you so much, Karen, for sharing your time and story with us.
You're very welcome.
You come across as so positive, genuine, and very wise.
It's not like that every day.
Please do take that creative writing course. I feel there's a really profound book ready to come out of you.
Oh yeah, I feel that too. So I've got to go and do it. Thank you for feeling that from me.
You just bought a church, which is really fancy, and you would use that both as a physical shop and storage. Now, considering you're running an FBA business, why would you need a storage? Is that not an extra passage? Like, could you not send the inventory directly into Amazon?
Yeah, I wish I could, but the reason I don't do it just now is because of the type of product. This is another reason why I would not choose textiles again. Basically, in an ideal world, I would have all of my products labeled overseas and just sent to a freight forwarder, to a hub, and straight into Amazon FBA. But because these things are handmade, the quality checks that I need to do means that they actually have to come into us first, because the colors change really, really easily. Something will change about the product, which means that I can't risk not seeing it. So we're talking about the changes that I'm making to my business. Part of that is trying to standardize the colors and stuff like that, so that I can move towards this system where I don't have to bring everything in. So it's not so much that I need a lot of long-term storage myself, but I need the storage to receive the containers coming in and to work with all the products and to pack them and label them and get them sent back out. And if I was dealing with a sort of different kind of product, I probably wouldn't need to do that. So that is why I've got this church, and I've got this I've got 4,000 square feet of commercial storage now that I need for containers coming in. And because of COVID, that storage will not be enough for the kind of backlog that I've got coming in. I'm probably going to have to rent more storage. So Yeah, when I get to the point where I've standardized my products and I have them sent directly from Asia to a European fulfillment center, I will be very happy. But I feel like I've got a long way before I get to that beautiful spot. But that's such a valid point, Andrea. It really is.
You'll get there, I'm sure.
Just to add to Corinne's answer there, it's not very unusual that sellers tend to use a third-party fulfillment center or their own commercial storage. It's mainly because, like Corinne said, it's to quality check the products. For example, some of the products that we sent in the last batch, they went to the Amazon FBA storage straight away. And when the customer started complaining, many parts are missing in the product, we were really surprised and we had to pull it back. So it's good to keep an eye on that just for the QC process. And the other thing is, when people are starting, Amazon does not give you the storage that you need. They don't allow you to send all the products that you can send. They give you up to 200 items or 500 items at the max, and then they allow you to trickle products in. People tend to use a third-party storage center and they trickle products in from there.
Yeah, I think it's crucial to find a supplier that you really trust. I think it's
that's very crucial.
Yeah. I mean, on that point, Andrea, also maybe about sort of three years ago, we were using a third-party fulfillment center as well. So we had a company in Glasgow who were actually receiving our containers, and again, this was part of when my dad developed dementia. It wasn't just that I sent a lot of products off to Amazon FBA. I had to get rid of all the rest of my stock as well. And so I used a third-party fulfillment center that I did find in Glasgow, and they would do all my eBay orders and my website orders as well. But they also started to ship stuff to Amazon FBA for me as well. And it was a bit more of a new development for them. So I still needed to be quite hands-on and on the phone a lot, telling them how to do the shipping plans. But yeah, at any point, I could probably go back to using a third-party warehouse who don't just fulfill my orders to customers, but they also send stuff straight out to Amazon fulfillment centers. But at the time, it was getting really expensive because the storage costs were quite high, and it worked fine when they were sending out maybe 50 orders every day for me to customers. It made financial sense for me to use them, but there came a point where Amazon FBA was the bulk of my business, so really I was paying a lot of money for them just to store pallets for me and to send stuff to FBA, and it wasn't cost effective. I worked out that it would be far better for me to have storage myself and to start bringing it back in again. But I feel like we are actually moving back towards that point where using a third-party fulfillment center who then feeds FBA as well as other orders could be the best way for us to handle things. I have been back in touch with them recently, actually, for that reason, just to say, remember when I left, I said I might be back. I might be back very soon. So yeah, it's all there. It's a great option to use. Yeah.
It's a very sweet threat. I find it. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I've been in touch with a lot of people recently that I've used for storage in the past to say, remember when I left, I said I might be back. So we've got like a local haulage company used to store stuff in one of their big sheds for us. And I mean, I stored stuff with them for about a year, but again, this is like rural Scotland. So when I would go and try and get some of my stuff from their shed, there would be birds nesting on the shipping bales, and when you find a bird's nest, you know, on top of your pallets with your textiles, you don't want to disturb the bird's nest, and there's mice nesting in the bottom of the pallet. I was like, no, this is not working. But when we've got so many containers coming in at the same time, I might have to go back and use some of these guys again. But yeah, that's just what you have to do.
I find it truly incredible and inspiring that you've got up to 1,400 SKUs. And of course, it's really overwhelming, as you said.
Yeah,
and
inspiring's not a word.
As soon as I heard that, I thought about the Pareto's law. I don't know if you've heard about that law. It says...
What's it called? Oh, yes, yeah, Pareto, I have.
80% of your outcomes results from 20% of your inputs. And I was thinking, have you checked whether 20% of your products account for 80% of your sales? And if so, you could get rid of everything else. Just keep that 20%.
Yeah, that's basically, it's a good point. I mean, I'm not very good at going through reports and working things out. Most of what I know about my business is kind of in my heart and in my head, and I'm not great at sitting going through reports, but I have done the whole analysis. And yeah, you're right. I find that 20% of my income's coming from 80% of my income's coming from 20% of my products. So this paring down exercise that I'm doing just now, where I'm restricting it down to 40 product lines with their variations and getting rid of everything else, is a lot of that's to do with recognizing that there's a lot of dead wood in there. And, you know, if you've got products that are sitting there, you know, even if they do sell every now and again, it's the effort that goes into even just having them there, having the listing on there and stuff. So yeah, that Pareto analysis I find quite incredible. It's so close, you know, it doesn't matter what way you look at it, it very often comes down to being accurate. So Mr. Pareto, or whoever he was that came up with that, that is still standing. Yeah.
100%. And he was Italian, which makes me very proud.
Exactly. So he should be. Yeah.
You mentioned you're now learning new systems to cope with this intricate structure that you have. What systems are missing? That would
it's not so much it's not so much systems that are missing, it's more what we put into the system. So I've put a lot of information in myself, but then I've got 4 staff, so they might go and put some information in, but we're not using the same format, so we end up with too many different descriptive words and stuff like that. Things like tagging products, we're using different words for stuff. So again, it's more about us having a very good central database of information, and that everybody has to use that central database no matter what channel they're working on. They don't create any new content themselves at all. It all has to be done from the central. So I have been working for the last couple of months on this database that has only our core products on it. I've created all of the content for it, and this is what everybody will now use to populate the channels. So that's really what I mean. And I think the systems that we use, like cloud commerce, will work far better. So once I've deleted 800, SKUs that I just shouldn't have there anymore, that I've got like one left of the product and I've had it there for 3 years. Once I've deleted all of that and come back to this like 500 SKUs that are, it's 30 to 40 product lines, then I think our systems will be much better. And it's not a new system as such, it's just a better way of like handling your information, really. And this is stuff that if you're really good on Excel, that you would have done it right from the start. But I have no background in e-commerce or retail, my whole sort of paid working life was in environmental science, it was in law, it was in policy. And it's great when you start a new business, but you've got all these amateur approaches to everything which don't follow through when your business starts to scale up. So yeah, I've still got a little bit of work to do in that, but I can at least see what I need to do now to sort it, rather than just flapping and wondering like how to sort things and not really knowing what to do about it, and throwing money at it and bringing people in to help me that it doesn't really work out.
You'll find a way. I want to be respectful of everyone's time. I'll stop asking questions. I've got an endless amount, but good luck with your shop opening tomorrow. I believe it's tomorrow.
Yeah, that's right. We're going to throw the doors open tomorrow. So thank you for that, Andrea. And I'll try and be more polite to my customers than I was today when I just wanted to hide from them.
Just offer them a bit of wine and a piece of cake. They'll be happy.
Yeah, we're getting into mulled wine season. So really there's no reason why not.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Andrea, for your very nice questions. Thank you so much. Martin had a couple of questions as well. Martin, would you like to?
Hi, thank you very much, Karen, for inspiration. As
You're welcome.
It is, a very inspiring story, and like most people that listen, they try to understand what it's like building a business, especially from scratch, as well, in what is now a very competitive marketplace. So one of the questions, or one of the things that intrigued me, was how you managed to scale the business initially, because as you start off, as you said quite rightly, you start off very small. Your investment for starting normally tends to be very small. I know a lot of people now are saying, oh, you need to put in 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 pounds worth of stock in order to be successful. But I like the fact that obviously you started on a much, much smaller scale, and it started with 1-2 products. Mm-hmm. How did you manage that scale up? Because a lot of the, not necessarily gurus, but a lot of the experts say that you need to buy some stock, you get those back, and then you invest everything back in, and you do this and you do this repeatedly. So it's like this compound interest effect kind of thing for 2 years, and then then that you can start taking the salaries. So how did you manage to combat that you thought, okay, I can now take a salary from this, and I can now give up my day job, and I can now concentrate on this and for full time?
I think when people ask me how did I scale the business up, it always makes me feel like a bit of a fraud, because I don't feel like I did scale the business up. I feel like it scaled itself up, and that I have spent all of the years ever since trying to keep up with it. I think, when you're on e-commerce, it's not difficult to just get a product and just list it, and then you see what happens with it. So when I first started on eBay, I just started to put lots of products on, and they sold, and I bought more in. So I feel like it just built itself up, and there wasn't a point where I thought, right, I need to take a salary from this, because for so many years I was working full time at the same time anyway. There was no pressure on me to actually to do that. It wasn't until like 2013 was when I gave up my job and moved over, and that was the point where I'd managed to build up a couple of years of accounts, and I sort of felt comfortable that this would actually be able to support me. But I was very fortunate that actually at the time the SEPA, or the Scottish Environment Protection Agency where I worked, they were looking to get rid of a middle level of managers. And I was in that middle level of managers. So I was offered voluntary redundancy, which I would never have taken ordinarily. But I just thought, actually, this is the time to go. And so I am conscious that I had the comfort of having some redundancy money. But in the event I didn't ever use it, it just got it was eventually used as the deposit for this church that I've bought for, rightly or wrongly. But it was almost like I needed that safety net to feel that it was okay to move on. But my accounts were kind of telling me that actually you've got enough here to live on. And it depends, I suppose, what your own lifestyle's like. I don't spend much money on myself or on things. So I knew I didn't need much to actually justify taking whatever I needed to pay my bills. And obviously I have my other half, he's there, he's in the fire service, so he's got his own job, and there's money coming in there. So building it up, I think some people have got a very clear plan for how they're going to build their business up, and they've got it mapped out. And other people just almost throw it out there and just see where it goes. And I'm very much in the latter category, that I just threw it out there. I did a few things and it worked, and here I am. And like I say, sometimes I do feel like a bit of a fraud. Because I never had a business plan. I never had a business plan for any of that. I still don't have a business plan for any of this.
Just to add to that, Corinne, just to add to that, Martin, as well. 90% of the people are like what you said, the second category, especially because business is not always a straight line. It's all the time. It's going up and down, going maybe round as well sometimes. It's not a straight line. That's what people need to understand when they jump in. And directly answering to your question, Martin, if you need to scale up, you need to understand that you're not going to take any money from the business for quite some time, because you need to roll the money back into the business for at least 2-3 years. And that's when it becomes a self-sustaining, scalable business after that.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to just understand as well, because I hear it so many times from various different sources and stuff, and so I just wanted to also understand firsthand that it's yes, you can plan it, but again, from what becomes almost a hobby to something that's very serious, and you still need to feel connected to your business, because remember, 2-3 years, okay, it's a short period of time, but for somebody working constantly his or her business for 2 to 3 years, not taking any money, to keep that momentum going, and that, as Karen, you alluded to before, there was times when you thought, what am I doing this for? Is this worth it? Blah, blah, blah. But something kept you going, to keep the business going and stuff like that. So it's just I just wanted to understand, if that was something that was a key source for you to keep going as well.
When you say that, you mean like was the need to earn money a key reason for keeping going?
Yeah, I mean the motivation, probably. I think the word I'm looking for is motivation more so.
Right. Yeah. Well, interestingly, the money has never been a motivator for me at all. It was the energy that this business created. It was the being part of a chain where somebody at the other side of the world would make something for me and would send it to me, and I would sell it, and then I would get a nice email from somebody who was happy with it. So I wouldn't say I've ever had massive profits at all, but it's kind of it's about more than that for me. And not everybody approaches their business. Of course, you have to be able to pay your bills and everything, but if I'd been looking for a hugely profitable business, I probably wouldn't be doing the one that I'm doing just now. So the money's not been a big massive motivator for me. And I think though, if it's very different, if you've already got another source of income through a job, then it can be quite simple to just take 2 or 3 items. Now, most wholesalers, they have a minimum order of something like £100, so it's not difficult to just buy a few bits and pieces. And I think it's really important that people try the channel out first, instead of like launching like 100 SKUs on, is just get 2 or 3 products and learn how the channel works, learn how the listing process works, learn how to photograph something nicely, how to get the content right, and just leave 2 or 3 things on there. And they might not sell, but you're at least getting the experience of how the whole thing actually gets put together. You might then want to try a sponsored product to see how that changes things. But I think by dealing with a couple of things and just learning how the whole system works with those, that itself, I think, takes the pressure off. I think if you're building up to having a plan that you're going to launch this whole business in one go, it's very stressful, and then you're very reliant on it working from the word go. Whereas just doing it almost as a sideline to where you've got another source of income. I mean, like I said, eBay, even Amazon, Etsy, you can literally put one product on just to get a feel for how something's actually how it's going to appear, and then just start trying to take it from there. So I think that's why e-commerce is such a great startup business for so many people, that doesn't require you to give up your job. You don't require a lot of money to start up. You can store a few things in your spare room. The risk is actually very, very low. I think the biggest risk for new sellers on e-commerce, and particularly on Amazon, is having your account deactivated very quickly into the process because you've not understood what policies that you need to stick to. So I think for Amazon in particular, you have to make sure you've taken the time out to really understand what's expected of you. When you look at the Amazon threads just now, it's full of people who've just launched and then very quickly deactivated. They've not appreciated that you must not send stuff out late, that you cannot join a listing unless it's the same product. There's lots of things you have to do. eBay and Etsy are far more forgiving, obviously, but lots of people want to be on Amazon because that's where the traffic is. But I think it pays dividend to take a little bit of time out and just really learn how a channel works before you put too many things on there.
Sure. Thank you very much.
Very important advices there, Karen. Thank you so much. And thanks, Martin, for that lovely question. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Martin.
there anything else that anybody wants to add here? Any questions? Yeah, I take the silence as no. Thank you so much for joining in, Karen. It was such an excellent conversation that I had with you, and this has gone live on YouTube as we are speaking. Take a look, everyone, and subscribe to the channel as well. And if any of the participants here, if any of the attendees here are looking for mentors from within the community, I say it is within the community because it is the sellers that I know personally within the community. If you are interested in exploring that option, please go to this link and book a call with me, and I can give you more details about it. It's not a sales call, it's just looking through what you're trying to achieve and whether there is any coach that can help you with starting up your business. Or if you're already in any businesses like running a shop or running a bookshop, and if you want to go to the online channels, many of these coaches can help you with that as well. All right, thank you so much for joining in. It was such a nice conversation once again, and many thanks for the participants who have been sticking to this.
Thank you as well, everybody. It's been really great to meet you and to have the chance to catch up with you.
And good luck with all your endeavors for 2021, and good luck with your coming new
for all of you. Yeah, the same.
Church. Yeah, thank you. All right, thank you so much. See you.
Thanks very much, everybody. Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.